Hello community. Multi-agent LLM. Why suddenly they are a hot topic? It is because of social science. You know those people that watch us, that watch every focus group and decide how people could react? Look here at this publication of Science here, June 15, 2023, AI and the Transformation of Social Science Research. Or take this here. Can AI language model replace human participants here in cognitive sciences, science and society? Does GPT make human-like judgment? Interesting, suddenly, here the complete cognitive sciences discover GPT. And what is really amazing, and this is here a brand new publication that shows you here, the average human moral judgment and GPT moral judgment. And they see here a very, very clear correlation. And one of the main insight of the study is here, that GPT 3.5 and human judgment align with 93% across gender and age groups. So this means here, all the different social and cognitive science analysts reveal, instead of a human judgment, for 93% you can go with a GPT judgment. So suddenly this becomes now an instrument. And as you can see here in this other publication, AI augmented surveys leveraging LLMs for opinion prediction on nationally representative surveys. We have suddenly here the new era of LLMs now in product development. So what they found is that LLMs can simulate human-like responses. LLMs replace humans in the data collection, but one of the most important is LLMs can predict individual responses to survey questions. But the really driver of all of this in the industry is multi-agent system, multi-agent LLMs. And now we close the circle. So interestingly, it is not computer science that is driving this. This here is cognitive science, social science, and they apply multi-agent LLMs, heaven's sake. Why is it? Because they found that using multi-agent system with an LLM, they can simulate complex social interactions. So you need multiple AI agents interacting with each other, and you can predict social phenomena of human beings. Think about the application. Think about marketing, advertising. Think about the market size of tens and hundreds of billion US dollars. Suddenly a new tool is available. And this tool has some features. This tool understands consumer behavior, insight into consumer behavior for new marketing strategies. This new tool, this multi-agent LLM, can predict consumer preferences. So if you have, for example, new product launches for a specific market, you can adjust adjustments before you launch the real product. Or understand about market segmentation. Think about personalized marketing, product testing, focus groups. So in summary, with this new cognitive science wave discovering here LLMs and multi-agents, and this is one of the important points I would like to stress, they conclude that this can transform the complete marketing industry by providing deeper insight into the consumer behavior, enabling personalized marketing, enhancing market segmentation, and improve product testing and advertising. And marketing and advertising are two main branches where you can make money. So before we just jump now into coding agents, I have to tell you what is an agent in a multi-agent system. We have to include here the latest technology. And as you can see here from OpenAI, this is OpenAI official function calling and other API updates. And they announced here, for me it is 4 days ago, that they have now more stable API models, new function calling capabilities, lower prices, and new models available. So we will take advantage of this new technology and integrate it. If you look at the official documentation from OpenAI, you see they say here we have now the new models. Either you go with the GPT 3.5 Turbo 0613 or with GPT-4 0613, June 13, the date it was published. And they are able to have those ability to call functions. And the main sentence of all the description is here. The chat completion API of OpenAI does not call the function. Instead, the model generates just a JSON that you can use to call the function in your code that you have written. And I will show you the code in a moment. So if we integrate this, you might ask, but why do you need it? And this is here the most simple explanation I could think of to show you why we need this new technology and what it offers. On the one side, we have GPT-4 in our natural language understanding. And on the other side, we have 99.9% of the data of the world that are not able to communicate in a natural language, that have the data structured in a specific way for a database, or for a flight recording, or for some document storage. And you have your APIs that connect to the database, base, and everything. And what you have now, you have an intelligent system that speaks a natural human language and structured data. So you have on the interface to dumb it down. And OpenAI decided it will go with JSON. And then you have your database query. SQL comes back, says, yes, I have the information you're looking for. And then again, you intelligence it up, the JSON reply, to a natural language. So this process of dumbing it down and intelligence it up is exactly what is function calling. Why we have function calling. Because here 99% of our structured data are not able that you can communicate with them in your natural language. So understanding this, you now know why. And I will tell you now the code how we do this with agents. But just to be absolutely clear, the intelligence behind this, to dumb it down, is our GPT-4. And the intelligence behind this, to scale the intelligence up to a natural language, is also done by GPT-4. And you know, every time you touch an API, you have to pay. So you pay for GPT-4, you pay for every API, and you pay for all interface in and out. So just to remind you, this is related with some significant costs. And what we're going to do now, we'll write some Python code. I will show you for specific tasks. We will write the code for certain agents, and those agents have certain functions, and those functions can then be called, and I will show you how this system interacts. But for me, it was interesting to see what is the overview, why we need this function calling, and what does it perform. And you will notice in our code, we will use not at all any LangChain or any substitution or anything at all, because of this new functionality by OpenAI and the new LLMs models by OpenAI. This can be done directly in Python code. So let's code. So before we start with two agents interacting with each other, I think it's time, and we should have a look here at function calls. Let's start here for the introduction. What is a function call? Oh, wait. There's some other things I can show you. Yeah, let's start here with our OpenAI updates. So I told you we have here new models. And now we try to understand here what this function calling capability can do for us in the content with multi-agent for our LLMs. So let's have a look at the code. Make it that we can see it in one glance. Okay, smaller. Okay, so at first we have a function. I have a specific task and I define a function for this task. Now, for example, the task is find my flights from, I don't know, let's say we are departing from the US and we're flying over to the UK. So I want to find my flight. So I define a function. I give the function a name and call it find flights, intelligent. I say, hey, what are you? You are a function. And then I have the arguments. And the arguments are from the city where I start to the city where I want to go to, my departure date and my return date. And all of this is a string type. So this is all there is to define a function. And as you know, we're interacting here with GPT-4, for example. So you need to define the message. I'll make it a little bit bigger. So the message is easy. You say, hey, I'm here the system. So I give you a command. You are a helpful assistant to help users find the flights from US to UK. And then you define the instruction. And the instruction is, for example, a user base. You say, hey, now as a user, find me a flight from New York to London, departing on a specific day and returning on a specific day. So beautiful. And then you call an API. And now you call an openai API that has the ability here with this function calling and the new model that is compatible and has been trained on function calling. So we say here, openai.chatCompletion create our standard model. And now please watch out. You have to put in this model, GPT-4, June 13. This model, or later models, whenever you watch this video, can do here this beautiful function calling. If you go with the standard GPT-4, you might have problems. Then you have messages. You have your system message and you have your instruction on a user message. And we define the function. This is our function. Couldn't be easier. I know this. And then comes the part where you now address GPT-4 and you say, hey, GPT-4, do now here the chat completion at a specific point. And these are my messages, these are my function. And I say the response that I get back from GPT-4, I look at the choices and I take the function call. And this variable, this function call variable, will have now my JSON information that I need to connect to an external API. Beautiful. Since I saw that a lot of people just want to have a code video and not explained how it works, I'm not going to tell you how it works. We just look at the code. So here we go. The code you get back from GPT-4 here is exactly this in our example. So let's have a look at it. You have an ID, beautiful. You have here chat completion, created. You have here the model. This is our model for the function calls. Whatever you pay here are your number of tokens you have to pay. And then here we go with the choices. Remember choices? Here, choices, function call. Remember this? So we here in choices and we have mostly two. We have here a message and we have a function call. Now the message is clear. This is our natural language message. So the assistant comes back, GPT-4 comes back and says, sure, I can help you with that. Let me find the flights for you. But now with this new function calling, I get the function call back. And this is what GPT-4 gives me back. And this is a JSON. A dictionary, easy as can be. You have here the name of the function, find flights, and the arguments. From city is now New York, to city is now London, departure date, and the return date. So remember that I defined a function here. From city to city, departure date, return date. Now I have my data that I communicated here in a natural language sentence. I have now here in a JSON format. This is all there is to a function call. The moment you understand this, the system is clear for you. and we can use this now. So again, we had here response, choices, function call. And here we have here the function call. And as I just showed you, this is it. So, okay, let's have a look at this separated. So you have the name of the function and here the specific parameters. Beautiful. Again, since it's so important, just let me remind you. What is a function call? It is simply here in programming a command that tells the program to execute a specific function. In the context of GPT-4, a function call is structured a JSON object that include the function name and the arguments. Yes, the function name and the function arguments. This is it. Nothing else to it. Again, yes, you know it. And then please remember this sentence. I put it here twice. The GPT model generates this function call based on two objects. Based on its understanding of the user instruction. And the user instruction I showed you is find me a flight from New York to London, departing on day 1 and coming back on day 2. This is the user instruction, and then the function description. And as I showed you, the function description has a name, a type, and the arguments define the string. This is it. Beautiful. Now, let's do here now an example of an external API without GPT-4 or any LLM, and then we will do this with GPT-4, and then we will do it with GPT-4 and agents. So, what is the classical way before everything we know about GPT-4? Well, you had your request, and then you had simply a class, a Python class. Let's call this Python class Flight Booking API. Now, to access here the flight booking server from, I don't know, Delta Airlines, you need a key. So you need your credit card. You say, okay, I am here, I authorize myself, and here's my credit card, and you get a key to access the flight booking server from Delta. Then you define a function. Here is your function that you define, right? This function includes now here, given the specific task that you want to achieve, exactly what you want to do. You want to call the flight booking API, Delta. We say here, request get from delta.com flights. You define the parameter that normally are in the function, but since we are now without here GPT-4 in this functionality, you just define the 4 parameters here manually. You see, there's no where function. It's just parameters A, B, C, D. Another, yes, your API key, your authorization, and then you got a response back here from your request statement that you sent to the Delta Airlines.com flights, whatever, API, and you get it back. And this here is your complete class of the flight booking API. This is the traditional way we have done it before. Function calling, external API, GPT-4 API, anything like that. So you see, easy. What we do now, we create the flight booking app in Python. We say the flight booking app. We give our API key of Delta. We pay now with our credit card in this moment. So we have our API, our external API. And then we just say, okay, from our flight booking API, we call now the function for the module find flights from New York, London, day 1, day 2. Then you have the flights. Beautiful. Again, simple as hell. Yes, nobody wants to understand why we do this. Okay, so we go to the code. Same exercise, but now with an agent, with GPT-4, OpenAI, API, and an external API. So now we go with max complexity. Beautiful. So this is now our agent. Our agent is a Python class. Wow. Who would expect it otherwise? In this example, I give you a little bit more information. I say, okay, OpenAI, import requests. And of course, since we're gonna use now GPT-4 API, we need an OpenAI API key since we are going to have here an external API delta, we need here the flight API key. And after we paid for all connectivity, we can start. We define now a function, find flights, where we have the parameter from the city, to the city, departure date, and return date. So exactly our 4 parameters. And we do exactly the same. We say now OpenAI chat completion create, like we do normally when we interact with GPT-4, with our GPT-4 model. Now we chose the GPT-4 model with the function calling functionality. Please do not make the mistake and leave this out. Then we have our role as a system, your helpful assistant to find flights. You know this. The role as a user, find me a flight from the city to the city, departing on day 1, coming back on day 2. And then comes now your function command. This is the pink one. Here we go. And this is exactly the function we had before. So you give it a name, you tell it, hey, you are now a function, and you have the arguments. As easy as hell. You know all these arguments. And then you say, beautiful, now we do the same. We have here, you know, this is our response when we call now, careful, we're calling GPT-4. And we say response from GPT-4, the choices, and now we extract the function call that I showed you 2 minutes ago. And when we have the function call, we're going to use this function call now when we connect now to the second API, but now to an external booking, flight booking API. So we say request get from Delta Airlines flights, our parameters, but now we have here back from GPT-4 the function calls. So we use this now for our 4 parameters, and you see beautiful function call from city to city. Yes, you can read it. The authorization, beautiful. And then you process the flight data. So flight response, all of this, your request is executed, JSON. And you return the flight data. As simple as it is. So now again, we do here our flight booking. Now it's not a flight booking API, but now we have a flight booking agent. Both are Python classes, so it's the same. You just have to insert now, since we are accessing 2 APIs. You have now the GPT-4 OpenAI API key that you pay. And again, you have here your Delta Flight API key that you have to pay. So we create now our flight booking agent, a Python class, and then we say, so it's called now agent, and then we call here the function find flights. You remember? Function find flights, this is it. Oops, where are you? So this is our function. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Even more, okay, smaller, more. Okay, so you see, this is our function, find flights. Here we have everything. We have the interaction with OpenAI. And here we make now the dumbing down. We get the response now in JSON in our function call. We can send off the JSON command now to our external API from Delta Airlines, where of course our JSON files is in sync with the API and the data the API can handle. And then we come back. And maybe I'll make it again a little bit bigger. And then we say, okay. And now we say agent find flight. And now we give, for example, here the data, New York, London, and here we go. So now you get the data back, and you still have it more or less now in tabular form or in CSV file format or whatever. So, and now you can do something again. Now you can intelligence it up. Remember, and now I would have explained why and the modularity and the reusability, but since it was ask only the code, let me show you this. Let me show you this in the original OpenAI function calling. Here's it. For example, here we have a weather example. So you connect to weather.com and you want to know the weather in Boston instead of a flight. We are now here. We use the model response to call our API. So here, instead of the Delta Airlines, we have now the weather API, and we get some response. Not our flight data. Your flight will leave New York to London on the day at 7 o'clock. Now we have here temperature in degrees Celsius. Beautiful. And then now we are not satisfied that we just have here temperature 22 Celsius sunny for a day. Now we call openai API again. And we have a request and a response. And we send the request to GPT-4. Oh no, here it's GPT 3.5 Turbo, June 13. So this is our chat GPT model that can understand function calling. And have a look what we do. So again, we have the model and then we have the messages. The messages are clear. We have the user. What is the weather like? Then we have the assistant with the function call. So here we have now the name of the function, get current weather, and the argument, the location, Boston, Massachusetts. Unbelievable. And then we have now in the function, we got the result back. Remember, this is the result of the function. We have now from the get current weather, we have the content. The content here is exactly as I showed you, temperature 22 degrees Celsius. Beautiful. So since we want this now in a sentence, we define now here, this is the function that we have, get current weather. This is exactly the function we have here. And there we have the property, you have a location, this is a string type, and this is the city and the state, San Francisco, whatever you like, Boston. And you have here the temperature unit is also a string, but the unit itself is in Celsius or in Fahrenheit. Beautiful. So you send now this information to GPT-4 and you get a response from GPT-4. And I remember, as I told you, you will get something back with choices, and choices will have here a message. And in this message, now we have, in the role of our assistant, GPT-4 is our assistant, we have now the content, and the content is the answer. And now we have the content in a human language sentence. Content reads, the weather in Boston is currently sunny with a temperature of 22 degrees Celsius. So this is it. So this is the output now of the system in a natural human language. English, for example. So this is all that we went through. We have a human input, a natural language sentence. You have your agent, sends it to GPT-4, converts it here in a function call in JSON. This JSON call is sent with our Python code where I've written the function. We have defined my agent, that he has a request to weather API, and I get back from the database here my response in this format. You want here this in a natural language, in a sentence, so you send it back again to OpenAI. This is the request. You have to pay for this request, of course, otherwise it would not be funny. And then you get a response that you were looking for. So this is the functionality of function calling, the new thing with OpenAI. Very beautiful. We have no LangChain. Perfect. We can do it now here directly in our code. And the next time we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about multi-agents now. We will code multi-agents. Maybe we go a little bit further, this auto GPT or this baby AGI in this Gorilla system. And I will show you we want to get rid of this first generation. And we will substitute all of this with multi-agent LLMs. This is the outlook. This is the first video. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit of code, a little bit of explanation. Looking forward to see you in the next part.